Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we are pleased to have with us Debby Millhouse, who is the CEO of CEO Inc., and I would like to welcome you, Debby, to the program and start off with saying congratulations on being a 2016 Inc. 5000 recipient. Tell us a little bit about that, and was there something pivotal in that year that caused you to get to that level, or have you been a multi-year recipient?
We haven't been a multi-year recipient in the past. We just have been so focused on business, we didn't focus on awards. And in the last couple of years, we brought on a VP of marketing, and he said, you guys hit this more than once. You should probably apply.
Yeah.
So we did.
It's interesting that you say that, and I love that mindset, because you just innocently are plugging away, cranking the business out, and all of a sudden look up and go, oh, well, I guess we qualify for this one. Let's submit. And the neat thing,
That's
too,
right.
is it's not just a fill in the blank, here's your certificate, and, yay, you win. It's a rigorous process. They vet it, they verify it, they audit financials, and so it's the real deal. So that's
Right.
really neat.
That's probably why we didn't apply before, because you almost have to have a person who's going to handle that process for you.
Sure.
And we're all busy doing what we need to do.
Right. But it doesn't. Now that you now have been to that point, now it's nice to have that. So that's wonderful. Give us a little bit of background on what is your company focus? How do you help your clients, and what sets you apart from the competition?
So we are an executive search and recruiting and staffing firm. So we provide human capital solutions for our employers who choose to work with us. We also provide value to candidates who are looking in the market, who want to capitalize on our connections. I think one of the things that makes us different from a lot of firms in the marketplace is we've been doing it for 25 years in our market. So that's a lot of history, that's a lot of knowledge, and that's a lot of connections. We come to it with an old-fashioned flair. So we do old-fashioned recruiting. We think people matter. So we want to have conversations with our candidates as well as our employers to make sure that we are orchestrating the fit that they're both looking for, because it doesn't really matter what you've got if it's not what they want.
So basically, you're not a resume mill that says upload it here and we'll throw it out up against the wall and see who grabs hold to it.
No, in fact, we won't submit a resume of any candidate that we haven't spoke with before.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think there's a lot of areas in business that should take that same approach. You think about social media selling, and that seems like it's a buzzword these days, and it can be effective, but the problem is too many salespeople latch onto that and think it's an industry buzzword and, tell their bosses I'm selling on social media, and in reality, you're just tagging, posting, liking, and where's the actual interaction come? Don't hide behind that computer. So I love that you won't submit or do any work or move forward without speaking or meeting with, and that's a big piece, because wouldn't you say that there's a good percentage of the time that once you get to know someone, even on the phone, that they come alive a lot more than staring at a resume, and now through making some notes and some points, now you're able to help come to life and connect them up with something you never would have picked up on by looking at a resume.
That's exactly right. And the other thing to consider is when you look at a resume, about 74% of the resumes in the marketplace have fabricated, known lies and misrepresentations. So you really have to make sure that you qualify and vet a person well. But again, we also want, on the candidate side, we want to ask questions that are thoughtful and will provoke a response for what it is that they really are looking for. That matters to us. because, a lot of people aren't sure, or they haven't vetted it completely in their mind before they go looking. They also don't know what their options are.
And what do you find is the biggest mistake that people make in presenting their resume, other than the obvious, like don't lie and don't fabricate? But what are some of the other things that people should be aware of before they even start to consider working with a firm like yourself?
Well, I think before they come and work with a recruiting firm, they do have to have an idea of what they want to do. Recruiting is a targeted sport. So our job is to listen to the types of things that you're interested, either as an employer or as a candidate, and then make sure that there is a match there. We also, when we're looking at that information, you may classify it in a certain way, but because we know the marketplace, or we know the type of people, or we know the position that you're looking for, we may determine that there are different skills that you're going to use in that area to be successful that an employer who has their head down just doing what they do on a regular basis is not aware of. So, you've got to have a clear idea of what you want to do, and you have to have either have to have a pretty clear idea, or you have to be able to talk to somebody who can ask smart questions and pull out from you what it is that you really need.
Yeah, that's really huge, because isn't a clear idea of what you want kind of indicative of your life plan, your business plan, your marketing plan? I mean, anything, right? And there's too many people that are not clear, and when you're not clear, you're not going to get anything close to what you wanted, because when you get it, you didn't want it, but you didn't know why you didn't want it. And so I think that's a really big piece. Right. Even from just the small items like, well, I don't want to travel, or don't want to relocate, or it's kind of like a to-do list. The opposite of that is, let's create a not to-do list, and then that kind of can get you off to the right foot there too.
Right, and you often see in employers, because the employers are the people who really hire our firm. We work with the candidates to help them find the positions that they want, but the employer is the person who pays the fee, and we have employers oftentimes come to us with a search need, and because they got burned or had a bad situation, or the person that they're replacing wasn't everything that they wanted and they've decided to upgrade, they tend to bias the next job description that they come out with to fix those issues. And sometimes the pendulum swing is too far to one side or the other.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge piece there. And unfortunately, when you try to compensate and then it swings this way, and then you try to compensate the other way, and it's almost like, telling a lie. You forgot where you were, and you forgot what you told who, and just kind of keep your head down and focus. So I think that's a great life lesson. So what are your perspectives on women-owned business, perspectives on women in staffing? Are there advantages? Are there opportunities that you can provide? And does that play into a specific segment that you focus on?
Well, we are a woman-owned business, so we do have all the certifications that go along with that. Although I will tell you, I don't know that it's really helped us. I do think women in business look at business in a little bit more holistic way, because they have to look at that way in their entire life. But there are very successful men in this business. There are very successful women in this business. I think women have to work really hard in whatever industry that they are in to be successful. And if you're going to stand around and wave a flag, hoping that somebody's going to give you preferential treatment because you're a female, you should probably get a different job.
That's a huge point. It doesn't matter if you're blue, green, male, female. your clients and your prospects and your strategic alliances just want the job done right. And I think
right.
that's a huge piece. Do you have a specific segment that you focus on, whether it's, an industry segment or, are you known as, hey, when you need a job in IT, cybersecurity, or industrial, that's where our wheelhouse is. Is there anything specific that way?
Well, we have more than one company. So in the different companies, we have different segments that we focus on. CEO Inc. focuses on executive search, and then we have specialty areas in the plastics and advanced composites and materials arena. Accenture, our sister firm that we spun out 2 years ago, actually deals with that mid-level placement within organizations. So it can be accounting, finance, HR, IT, engineering, administrative, that business services, administration, operations services segment would be where that company specializes. And then we have another company called Go Healthcare Staffing that places travel nurses across the United States, and that is also a relatively new venture for us. So hopefully they'll make the list at some point.
Yeah. So what was the strategic decision in making separate companies rather than just one company and divisions up underneath of that? Was there anything specific that way, or did it just work out that way?
Actually, after fighting the marketplace for about 20 years, being known as CEO Inc. and having to explain multiple times that we don't just place CEOs.
Good point. Yeah.
We decided to move Accenture into the arena because people just had a really hard time understanding that a company that does C-suite work is also going to help you with the positions that aren't C-suite.
Yes. Good point.
The nice thing is we take the CEO's perspective of all of the searches that we do, and we approach it like an executive search firm as opposed to those resume mills you were talking about earlier.
So in one way, it makes me think of something I've heard for years in business school. The example was, hey, if you're a big brand, set up a sister company or another brand, like a knockoff brand, to quote-unquote knock off yourself, and your customers think, oh, I don't like this brand, but I'm going to go with this new upstart. And in reality, the money goes either into your left pocket or your right pocket. For you, it was more of a clarification of the message, and that's huge to realize and then huge to make the pivot to do. But I think that probably in your Accenture talks with clients or prospects, don't you find that you say, hey, you know what, we have a sister company or a parent company is, CEO Inc., and what we do is we bring all of the high-level C-suite power of our searches and our technology to finding your position or filling this position. So in other words, they feel like they're getting, 2, 3, or 4 levels higher service than just the typical competitor that they may be talking to of yours.
Well, I would hope so, because that would be true.
Yeah. Well, and I think that needs to be made known. But that thought crossed my mind about why have the different brands, and that's a perfect example of why. And it's excellent that you noticed it and did something about it. Hey, so what do you see in trends in the industry? I from the outside looking in would think you've gone way past the worry that is technology going to affect us, because it's not going to kill an industry, it's going to enhance it. But like you've already said, you take an old-fashioned approach to kind of mixing the two together, so you get the power of technology, but also the power of that relationship. So where do you see things going in the years to come?
Well, I think that because the unemployment rate is as low as it is, and the unemployment rate in the United States is less than 5%. If you have a 4-year degree, it averages, depending on the state you're in, about 2.5%. The challenge that you're going to have in recruiting and staffing is the same challenge you're going to have across the United States for companies. It's going to be identifying great talent and bringing it to a specific company. I think that technology is going to become more robust with the search section or the sourcing piece of finding talent, but then it's going to break down into who can actually bring that talent across the finish line and who can actually retain that talent. I also think with the millennials coming up through the ranks that companies are going to have to provide more mentorship for these kids coming up and into their organizations. And if they think they can just throw people in the deep end and expect them to swim, it's not going to work very well with the next generation. So they're going to have some form of talent management that is providing those solutions as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, is like it or not, and whatever you want to call them, millennials and what's the next generation that's going to be coming up past that and the next one past that, you have to see what's coming, and you have to see that they are different than the Gen Xers and the Boomers and all the different ones we want to label ourselves with. And you have to know that you said another magic word, which is retention. You don't want to place someone with a firm and then they're gone in a week or two, because maybe that would reflect negatively on the placement, right?
That's correct.
Is there anything that you specifically do that helps to prevent that or to assure that placements are, solid that way, so that your employers that you work with kind of see that track record?
We do keep track of our statistics, and we have a very high success rate, which we strive to continue in. But part of the reason I think we're successful there is we don't just do an interview. We also do skills assessments. We do some psychological testing, not only of the candidate, but also of the hiring manager who's going to be bringing that person on. If a company is open to it, there are some very good tools on the market that can really help build that bridge between them and the new employee and allow them to foster great communications from the very beginning, because they just kind of understand what the scorecard is. And if people remember, it's really about them, not about you, you can improve any relationship. But if you do take the time to spend the effort to figure that piece out, it also creates a great deal of revenue on the bottom line for your organization, because you're getting to where you need to be faster, easier, better, and that's profitable.
And I know that some HR type person could put a dollar figure to this, but I have heard over the years that the employee turnover, search for a new employee, rehire, all of that whole process costs a chunk of money, whatever that
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So when an employer looks at a firm like yours that goes quite a few levels deeper than just here's a resume, consider this person, and they know that these placements or these opportunities from your firm are vetted and worked and solid, I would venture to say that they could kind of feel like that's a little bit higher up on the food chain to at least consider for an interview, because they see that track record. And of course, you can't be held responsible if some person moves on or whatever, but the chances are when you put them through that level of pre-application rigor, that really does stand to reason that maybe an employer is going, okay, the chances are we're probably not going to have to go relooking in 6 months or 8 months for this same position.
Right. I think it also helps too. We look at the employer side of that hiring process and try to help them be better at making those decisions as well. Oftentimes, when an employer has their head down to the grindstone doing what they do on a regular basis, what they don't do is they don't hire every day. And if they have a key person that's coming in that's important to them, it's important for them to be able to clearly identify the qualifications that they're looking for and be able to quantify that. And some people just don't know how to ask the right questions to be able to get that information so they can make a decision. We've got some processes that we take employers through so that if they aren't familiar or aren't as successful hiring people, they can ask really smart questions and mathematically get to where they need to be on who is the best candidate that we looked at for this position. That really helps a lot of my engineering clients because they like the scientific approach to hiring.
Yeah, process.
And a 20-something HR person isn't going to be able to qualify everybody who comes through the organization and find the best talent.
Is that a tool that you provide to employers to help them with?
We do.
Well, is that something that you provide, as kind of like a no-cost tool, or is that part of the process when you start working with someone?
It's part of the process when we work with somebody.
So at this point, I would like to say, what is the best way that potential applicants or employers would best connect with you to learn more about what you could provide to them? What's the best, website or industry report or something like that we can point them to?
I think probably going to our website is the fastest way to get to us. They can go to ceoinc.com or Accenture.com and be able to connect or call us directly on the phone. We're people will answer the phone.
We will speak to you. That's awesome.
That's right.
Yep, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Debbie. I really enjoyed getting to know you, and it's great to have you on the show today.
You got it. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.